There are a number of things that have to be in place for us to reduce carbon emissions. First of all, we are having, in terms of engaging around what needs to be done, there's a whole lot of engagement and conversations. We have the COP26 coming up, and countries have already put in place national plans, what they're calling NDCs, that are talking about countries' own plans. Nearly every country in the world has an NDC that talks about their plans to reduce carbon. We also have more recently a number of countries that have stepped forward and moved away from 2050 and are giving targets by 2030, really reducing emissions by 2030. But we also have the 2050 agenda, where countries are really focused on ensuring that emissions significantly come down. So those are happening. And then you have areas like the food systems, where we are contributing 30% to emissions. But this is an area that we haven't really looked at in the past. We haven't given a lot of emphasis to, that we haven't looked at the sources as much. And now we are beginning to look at that. We are beginning to look at the impact of different places in the food system and how they impact emissions and how we can reduce those emissions. But there's also contributing to ensuring that where we have degraded land that can contribute to future reduction in emissions, can contribute to future sinks of carbon, that those can be our contribution also from a food system perspective. But I think the biggest contribution is coming from the fact that the Secretary General has been working very hard to get countries to remove subsidies, to remove major funding institutions, to remove subsidies from coal investments, where coal is one of the biggest coal is one of the biggest emitters. So the fact that he has managed to get a number of banks to stop funding coal, and countries are beginning to see the opportunity to stop doing that, is a huge step in the right direction. So I'm hoping that with the COP26 conversations going on, negotiations going on, that this year will end when we are in a much better place than we currently are. There's no question that there's a huge commitment, global commitment, to stay within the 1.5 degrees. It's not just a commitment, it's we don't have a choice. We need to do it because we don't have a choice. So this whole thing of race to zero from an emissions perspective is real, and ensuring that we reduce carbon is something we have to do, and it's something we have to really take in our day-to-day life.